Bom dia. It is Wednesday, May 20 something. I have no idea what day it is. But I'm here in Porto still. I just went and had a cup of coffee and a croissant for breakfast, as is seemingly like the common breakfast here in Portugal. Probably not just in Portugal, probably in Europe in general. But it was fantastic. I found a little laundromat to do my laundry because it was getting a little ripe. And it's this cute little place that the washer actually like dispenses the detergent for you. You don't have to buy it extra. It's just part of washing your machine, or the washing machine costs. So it was kind of nice that I didn't have to worry about detergent or figuring out what to do with the detergent. And I met a couple of people that are doing the Camino while I was at the laundromat, so it was nice to talk to other people. Also, while I was at breakfast, I was just sitting there and I noticed several backpackers that walked up the road right past the cafe I was eating breakfast at, which is right below my apartment here, or my hotel here. And you know, they had the Camino shell, so I know that they're doing the Camino because it's like the marker. And I didn't realize when I booked this place that it was on the path. I knew it was closer to the cathedral, but you know, sometimes the universe sends you synchronicities to tell you that you're doing the right thing, and I am literally on the right path. And so it was comforting to see that I'm so close to the Camino already, that I'm here and doing the thing and doing this thing, and that, you know, I'm literally on the right path. So it made me feel good about what I'm doing and about why I'm here. So yeah, I'm pretty excited now seeing other pellegrinos. Now I kind of want a pellegrino on the path of the Camino. I bet a lot of them left pretty early this morning, and so the people that are, you know, leaving right now are stragglers. Are probably going to take it a little slower. The lady I met from Virginia that is doing the Camino is also planning on taking it a little slower. So yeah, it was just nice to see other people that are on the same route and same pilgrimage, and talk to others, and you know, not feel so isolated. And not that I feel isolated, but I hadn't met anybody else doing the Camino yet, so it was kind of nice to have that. Today I plan on just kind of wandering around Porto a little bit, and then taking that baking class this afternoon, and then going to the wine tour this evening, and then tomorrow, kind of first thing, I plan on starting my Camino. So tomorrow's kind of a big day for me. So I'm trying to just, relax. I have found that I haven't really kind of gotten over the jet lag, and partly because in the mornings when I wake up, I'm still tired and I don't really have any legitimate reason to get up, and so I don't, and that's why I keep sleeping in way later than I probably should in order to recover from it. And so I tried to get up pretty early this morning just to help get over the jet lag. But I am still kind of suffering from it, and I find myself getting really tired kind of in the middle of the afternoon, and then I have a hard time falling asleep at night. And last night, unfortunately, the location that I'm staying at, there is construction right down the road, and they worked all night long and jackhammered, and well, that was really the most annoying part. And so I did have a hard time sleeping last night. I put in earplugs, and that did help a little bit, but I just struggled. And there's no air conditioner here, which is like Vermont, but it does take a little getting used to at first, that it's just a little warmer at night than I would like. So yeah, both of those things kind of combined made it really kind of difficult for me to fall asleep. And so again, I'm kind of tired this morning, but yeah, anyway, that's kind of my day today. I'll try to get my video uploaded from yesterday as soon as I can, and then I'll keep you posted and take some videos along the way, and see what videos I can take this evening of the wine tour and the concert. I don't know how much they're gonna allow me to actually film, but I'll try my best. Anyway, adios. So it's my last night in Porto, and sort of my last night of play before I start my Camino. I start my Camino tomorrow. And what I didn't realize is that I had been walking along the trail all day today, and I had just no idea. I was studying the map after the wine tour this evening, and it was just like that's where I was. Wait, no, I already walked that. I already did that. so I'm already familiar with a good portion of it. I've already seen a lot of it, and because my hotel is right along the path, and happens to be kind of at near the steepest, like the highest part of the walk. I'm gonna just leave my backpack here and go to the cathedral and get my passport and walk along until I get back to where my hotel is, and pick up my bag on the way. And then I basically don't have to carry my bag up the steepest part of the climb. Tomorrow, according to the guidebook, if I were to do the full stage, the elevation climb is about 450 feet, which really isn't that bad, all things considered. And so I do think that most of that elevation climb happens prior to me getting to my hotel. So that was kind of a nice kind of a realization that I could just leave my bag here, go get my passport, and just pick up my bag along the way. I wasn't able to film the pastry class. I didn't really learn anything about cooking exactly or baking. She probably could have just emailed me the recipe, and I probably could have done just as well on my own without having to take the class. But a couple of things that I did learn was that, and I knew that tea time had been brought to England from Portugal. One of the, I don't know their names, one of the royalty here married one of the royalty in England and brought with her tea time. And so it really is thanks to Portugal that England has tea time. The other thing I didn't know is that tea is also Portuguese. In China, where tea comes from, they call it chai. And tea is actually an acronym that stands for, and I'm going to say it in English because I don't know how to say it in Portuguese, but it stands for like transport herbal aromatics. And because the word for herbal in Portuguese actually starts with an E and not an H. And so they're basically saying that they were transporting aromatic herbs, and so they would stamp the casks with tea to indicate that that's what it was. And so that's actually where the name tea comes from. It's Portuguese. I didn't know that. The other thing I learned is that tempura is actually Portuguese. It means spice. And so like tempura green beans, Portuguese brought to Japan, and now Japan is a lot more famous for tempura than Portugal. In fact, they really don't use it very much at all other than tempura green beans. And the reverse of that is that the word for thank you in Portuguese, obrigado, which is the masculine form. Obrigada is the female form, and obrigado is the masculine. is a derivative of origato, which is Japan's way of saying thank you. So they kind of traded. They got tempura and Portugal got thank you. So I thought those were both very interesting facts. And then kind of something else that we talked about in that cooking class, and something that I had studied actually when I worked at the homeless shelter, was the decriminalization of drugs here in Portugal. And 20-30 years ago, Portugal was horribly crime-ridden. There were drugs, and drugs were a big problem. The import of drugs and drug usage, and they had a ton of addicts, and crime was really, really high. It was actually kind of a scary place to be. And then 20 or 30 years ago, Portugal decriminalized drugs, and this is something that I studied at the homeless shelter as from a social perspective, that they started seeing drug usage and drug addiction not as a crime, but as a social issue, and they started giving people mental health help rather than sending them to jail, and started seeing that people were using drugs because of lack of connection, lack of societal stability, and not as a criminal offense. And ever since then, Portugal's crime has gone way down. Their drug usage has gone way down. And in fact, it's because of Portugal that other countries have started seeing the success that Portugal has had with this, and has started decriminalizing drugs, including the U.S. And now Portugal is actually one of the safest countries in Europe. And Porto has been named, one of the best cities in Europe, and it is absolutely a phenomenal town. And so that was a pretty interesting discussion, and something that I was able to really connect with, having studied that when I worked at the homeless shelter. So those were two great things, and then the port wine tasting. Port wine wasn't exactly my favorite wine. I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it either. And one of the girls there that was sitting across from me at the wine tasting, she mentioned that she started drinking port and tonic the last few days while she's been here, and that has been good. And she's like, I don't just drink straight gin. I mix it with something, and so I'm trying to start seeing port wine the same way. So port and gin, or port and tonic, is a drink that she has started drinking, and so I might try that. But port wine is really, really sweet. Normally with wine, they let it ferment for about a month in order to convert all the sugar into alcohol. And with port wine, they only let it ferment for 5 to 7 days, and so it still has a lot of the sugars from the grape that never got converted into alcohol. And then to counter the fact that it doesn't have as much alcohol, they add brandy to the wine, and that's what gives it all the alcohol. And so wine, a normal glass of wine, is between 8 and 12 proof usually, or they call it degrees here, of alcohol, whereas in port wine is usually between 20 and 22, which is almost double a regular glass of wine. But because of the sugars in the wine, it kind of goes to your head really fast. And so even though I barely had a sip of my wine tastings, I didn't even finish one glass, and the glass of port that they gave you is not like a full glass. It was a tasting, but I only drank a little portion of it, but it went straight to my head. It was a very strange feeling, but I didn't love the flavor either, so it's probably not something that I'm gonna like add to my regular repertoire. I'm not a big drinker normally anyway, and so maybe that was part of why I felt it so quickly, is because I just don't, I have a fairly low tolerance for alcohol. I just don't drink very often. Yeah, anyway, that was kind of my experience with the wine tasting. At the Fado concert was fantastic, but it really only lasted for about 20 or 30 minutes, which was great. It gave me the rest of the evening to kind of wander around the city, and wander along the river and see the restaurants and the shops there along the river, which was beautiful before it got dark. So that it was a kind of a perfect amount of time there, and I think it was only like 20 or 30 euros, so it's not like I paid a ton for the wine tasting in this concert, so I'm not disappointed. So those were kind of my experiences with port wine and the wine tasting, and then the pastry class. And then tomorrow I start my Camino, and I'm really looking forward to it, especially now knowing that I've walked a good portion of the first stage already, just today wandering around. So it makes it a lot more, or it makes me realize, that this is something that I am capable of doing, that I can get through this and do this pilgrimage and be just fine. So I'm really pretty excited to start tomorrow morning, and I am going to take it really slow. I don't expect to get to the end of the first stage tomorrow. The first stage is supposed to be about 17.2 miles in total, and I probably am going to cut that in half. It really kind of depends on where I can find accommodations, and where I can get to. I have not booked accommodations for tomorrow, which I know a lot of people recommend, but the traditional albergues for pilgrims that are specifically for pilgrims and are publicly run don't take reservations. It is a first come first serve, and so it's just who gets there first. And so that's what I'm hoping to do tomorrow. I might have to scramble and stay somewhere else, but that's my plan. I'm gonna try to just get to an albergue and hope I can find a bed. And so that's what I'm gonna do tomorrow. So I am really looking forward to starting my pilgrimage tomorrow. And then all my bags are packed already and ready to go. All my bags are packed, ready to go. And then one thing I was going to mention about Fado is that I know it was kind of described as bluesy, and it is in a way, but it actually reminded me more of like cowboy lullabies. I kept getting the like Three Amigos, like blue shadows on the trail. Rather than it being bluesy, it just kind of had this like lonely cowboy feel to it. And apparently Fado was actually originally sung by prostitutes, and so it was actually kind of a lower class style of music, kind of like the old cowboy country music that just kind of had that melancholy, longing feeling that cowboy music had. So that was kind of my thoughts on Fado. I loved it. It was beautiful. It was so much fun. But it really reminded me more of cowboy music than of blues. And I realize they are kind of, derivatives of one another. But anyway, that was kind of my thoughts of today. I'm going to try to get some of the video edited and cut tonight so I can post an update before my first day tomorrow. And then I'll try to film along the way as much as I can. But I have really enjoyed Porto. It really is a fantastic city, and for anybody that is looking for a city to come visit in Europe that isn't like stand in lines and go see the Eiffel Tower, kind of a touristy town, and it's just filled with restaurants and stores and things to do and things to wander around and people to see, or like people to meet. I really do recommend Porto. It has been fantastic, and the food is fabulous. And I have been able to talk to a few people while I've been here, which for me is very abnormal. I don't usually talk to strangers. I don't like people. And so for me to kind of come out of my comfort zone, come out of my shell and out of my comfort zones. Comfort shell works, I guess. Has been an experience, but it's been good, and it's been nice to kind of learn to interact with people kind of on this really like simple level, and it's not like you have to always have deep, intimate conversations with everyone you meet, and you can just kind of have conversations with random people that are just simple and quick, and then you'll never see them again, and that was nice. And so the people at the wine tasting that sat across from me actually lived in Utah for several years. They met in Utah, now live in Florida, I believe they said. But it was kind of nice to be able to just have a quick chat with somebody, make a common connection, and then that's it. And I talked to several people at the pastry class. That one guy that has been traveling around Asia for the last several months, kind of on his gap year. He just graduated from college. Was kind of telling me he went to Indonesia and the Philippines and Thailand and Vietnam and had a wonderful time, and is now in Portugal. And so it was just kind of nice to kind of hear other people's stories and interact with them on this really like simple level that there is no expectation for deeper further conversations and deeper further connections, and it was just really a really simple kind of instant. It's like instant coffee, instant connection with people. That's something that I'm not very good at and have never really welcomed into my life. I really struggle with interacting with people just on a simple level like that. And so that's been really nice to be able to kind of experience and learn and not feel scared to just talk to people. And granted, people here are here on vacation, on holidays, and their mindsets are very different than rushing at the grocery store and being frustrated and stressed out trying to get everything done. People don't want to just sit and have conversations, but it was kind of a nice experience. That is something that is very, very new to me. So anyway, those are kind of my thoughts of today. And yeah, I'm very excited to start my Camino tomorrow. and we'll see how it goes. But I'm sad to leave Porto. Although, you know, I have luggage here, so I have to come back at the end of the Camino. So I will be back. Probably not for very long, but I will be back. I do need to still figure out some logistics of getting to India, but now that my pilgrimage has been cut in half, it really does give me a lot more time to figure out what to do here in Europe. And I've thought about just taking a train and kind of going from city to city and for a week or two before I have to get to India. Right now, as of today, the cheapest flights to India were out of Athens, not out of Budapest. So maybe it'll be out of Athens that maybe Athens is where I have to get to in order to fly into India. So I haven't quite figured out those logistics yet, and I probably won't for a couple weeks, just because I don't know how long the Camino is going to take me. I don't know what I'm going to have to do with myself for a couple of weeks here in Europe. And yeah, I keep thinking about, you know, how many times have people said, oh, they have too much time in Europe? Like that's just not something people say. And so the fact that that's kind of where I'm at, is that I have too much time here in Europe, is really not a problem. It is something that I should welcome and be grateful for, and not something that I should be worried about in any way. So that's what I'm doing today, or what I did today, and what I'm doing tomorrow. Most of tomorrow we'll be walking, and I'm sure I will stop and see some sights and have lunch and things, but it will mostly just be walking through the cities. The first couple of stages are through the cities, and so it is kind of busier. There's a lot of traffic, a lot more people, which some people are deterred by, but you know, especially having walked around the city today, the city is very walkable. A lot of the streets are only for pedestrians. And so, yeah, they're busy, and yeah, you kind of have to, you know, walk across a crosswalk, but it really isn't that daunting. It's very manageable, very doable. So, yeah, anyway, I will post an update tomorrow. Boa notte. Boa notte. No. Good night. These are a little bit like a Vegas casino.
Alright, a little bit more. A little more. Alright, let's try something together. Come on. Can you sing it? Thanks. Roadie, gotta come back home. Walking this morning, walls working this way home, 'cause I'll be back on my feet someday. Okay, if I do, 'cause it's understood. Got no money and it's not good, but I guess if you say so, a little family things and go. Yes, if you say so, I live to have my things, I live to have my things, I live to have my things and go.
Serious mouth trumpet skills.
go back to the beginning.
House, the surgery on the side. That's where we keep most goals because as you can see these are very big.
E o palavrão da ribeira, sem gueira nem beira, que eu vi ao passar, me faz renascer o desejo por um beijo que deixa saudade. Se sabe, responde-me, amor, qual é a cidade?
Honestly, having all of these restaurants just packed in like this is a little intimidating. Like, how do you know what restaurant you're at? There's so many people. It is just a really great vibe. I just was doing my wine tour in the Calum Caves is where they store all of the wine barrels. Porto is a very walkable city, but that does not mean that it is not without its hills and steps. Here's the common area along the river. It's just absolutely filled with people. It has just this really energetic vibe. Everybody's really laid back, just chill, having a glass of wine, eating some dinner, and just hanging out by the river. It's absolutely beautiful. This is a beautiful night, and yeah, come to Porto.
I wish I could remember now.
I start my Camino tomorrow, but this is the first way marker of the Camino that I have seen since I've been here. And I'm literally right up from my hotel. This is right down that street there. And so yeah, my Camino will walk right past where I'm staying and headed that direction.
once upon a time, I swore to go to every Hard Rock Cafe in the world. And, I'm just not going to bother this time.